what the actual fork is going on. In my opinion, we have so many projects on Pulse Chain and Ethereum that are severely underutilized. More importantly and specifically, liquidity forks. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Like, liquidity forks have been out a long time. We've had ETHLend, MakerDAO, and a bunch of liquidity forks launched on Pulse Chain, like Earn with Pulse X, and you have Flex with Hex, and you also have Ink Printer, which you use ink as collateral. So why this special video now? Well, based on what's coming in the pipeline, more complex liquidity forks are in the works, and this will be able to diversify your portfolio a little bit more while earning triple yield on your assets. Now, this video's purpose is mainly to go over the basic functionality of liquidity forks so you can make the best educated decision in the future when these protocols come out. I think right now, especially during a bear market, this is a great time to learn exactly how these things work and operate, right? So let's get right into it. So to start off, I actually took the liberty and the pleasure to open up my own dummy wallet just for experimental purposes and just easier to follow along during this video. Because once you come to inkprinter.com, you're going to be hit with a lot of approved functions, and it may look different than what's being shown right now. So I bypassed all those steps. So once you come to the site, you will see ink printer statistics legends on the side. It's okay if you don't understand. We're going to dive into a lot of that stuff right now. And then you'll see, your vault, stability pool, which we'll also get into. But before I go any further, I wanted to dive into the fee structure on how these protocols work, and how they're self-sustaining, and how it keeps the stable coin, in this case, ink dollar, pegged to $1. I think it's an important concept to understand on how this protocol operates and the engine behind it, right? So to start off with the borrower's fee or the issuance fee off the top. Now, this is at a base rate of 0.5%. And also when you go to redeem or pay off your Trover Vault, it's at 0.5%. But this rate is variable based on one component. How far away is the ink dollar, this stable coin, pegged from $1, right? So if it's above $1 and you're going to borrow, it's going to incentivize you to borrow. Now, the reason why it's incentivizing you is because, number one, you're getting more value for the dollar or the one ink token that you get, the ink dollar token. And, if you want to look at it from an in-depth view, more tokens in circulation, because you're minting the ink dollars when you borrow, will naturally drive the price down closer to $1. That's the objective. Same thing on the bottom, or on the flip side on the bottom, it's going to discourage borrowing because the price is already low, and minting more ink dollars when you take out loans is going to drive the price even lower, right? So that's how the system balances out on the front end. Now on the back end, when you go to pay or redeem your vault, the opposite applies. When the price is well above the peg, it's going to discourage paying off your loan or redeeming and all that stuff, because obviously when you go to pay off your loan, the ink dollars get burned. So less ink dollars in circulation, price goes up. And on the bottom, if the price is below the peg, burning will bring the price back up. That's one way to look at it, a simple way, a simple view. And that's how the price stays at $1, or the system tries to do. That's how it balances itself out, right? So now that we got that concept down packed, there's also a one-time fee. It's more of like a security deposit. Usually it's like $50 or something. It's like a liquidation reserve that gets put aside and returned to you when you pay off your vault, right? So now that we understand all the fees that we really need to look at in Ink Printer, but most liquidity forks, but in this example, this is how the fees work with Ink Printer. And we'll start diving into the loan collateralized ratio, which is a way to minimize your risk or assess your risk, essentially, right? So as you see over here, I have a 12,692 ink deposit as collateral, worth $7,822. And my debt in the protocol is $24.92. Now that includes all the fees I just said, except for the redeeming and paying off your vault in the end. This is the front end, the liquidity reserve and the borrower's fee, right? Now, what you do with the ink dollars is completely up to you. You could use them to buy, your favorite token, whatever it is, or you could deposit it in a stability pool. Now, a stability pool, one way to think of it is as a pool where when liquidations happen, this pool is used to pay off that bad debt, right? And in reward, you get the collateral dispersed based on your percentage of the pool. In my case, If there was collateral, it was a bad debt that was liquidated, I would get 3.12% of that collateral. Now, the collateral, you could sell it, pay off some of your loan. What I like to do, in my personal preference, as is not financial advice, I like to claim and redeploy it back in the vault. Now, the reason why I do that is because that is increasing my collateralized ratio. You're probably asking, for those who don't know, what is collateralized ratio? Now, that is pretty much your risk assessment of opening that loan. How much risk are you incurring? Now, rule of thumb is, for me, if you're active on a daily basis, I would say, daily to weekly basis, I think anything between 200% and above or higher is fairly safe. If you're someone that's not around that much, you come by once a month, then I would probably go 400, 500%, taking out less loan because crypto is very volatile. And, you could get liquidated if you're not keeping a close eye on this. Now, fortunately enough, the ink price is actually a time-weighted average, so you kind of will mitigate those scam wicks and everything like that. So over time, it changes very slowly and not the market or spot price, essentially, right? So you have some time to act if the price does go down and not in your favor. Now that you have your ink dollars, like I said, you could just deposit them into the stability pool. You could use them for whatever, and then you get, the rewards of the liquidations in return. Now, another piece of the stability pool, kind of like incentivization, essentially, is the reward token that you're going to get. In this case, print you'll earn. Now, print is the reward token that you pretty much can sell that to pay off your loan as well, or you could stake it in a staking pool, which I'll get to down here, right here. So you say I have 2619 print staked. It's not much, like $3. And my pool share, it shows on the bottom. But pretty much what the reward token is your share of the protocol revenue. And that all ties back to the protocol fees that I just explained earlier on the fee structure. So you'll get it on the front and on the back when people go to borrow and people want to close your loan, right? So that's how that's pretty much how that explains. And then if you want, if you're looking to borrow and you wanted to take out a loan, one way to look at what your collateralized ratio would be to kind of do the math in your head is you take the you take the collateral, the value of the collateral, you divide it by your debt that you're looking to take out, the loan you're taking out, and you times it by 100, and that'll get you in the percentage. So 10,000, and if you deposit $10,000 worth of collateral and you take out a $5,000 loan, 10 divided by 5 is 2 times the 100 is 200%. That's how that math works. So if you want to, do it in your head, knock yourself out. Now we explain what the borrowing fee is. So let's just go into the ink printer statistics a little bit. So you see the borrower's fee here, 0.5%, which means, the peg is not far away from $1, so it stays flat at the 0.5%. Total value locked, it looks like there's about $1.1 million locked in these vaults across 34 vaults. Ink D supply, the stable coin, 157,000, and there's about 31% of that in the stability pool, which I just explained what that does. Stake print, 44.1 million. Total collateralized ratio, 735. That is very healthy. I think ink printer is actually one of the more healthier protocols out of the other liquidity forks, the last I checked. And recovery mode. Now, what recovery mode is when the total collateralized ratio of all the collateral and the debt is below 150%. Now, that's pretty much like an alert, a safeguard mode where everyone's liquidation would actually move up to prevent any kind of system cascading failure, right? So down here, you can see the liquidation price in normal mode, which is, if the total collateralized ratio of the whole protocol is above 150%, you'll get liquidated if the ink price goes down to 21 cents, right? And the recovery mode price is a little higher, obviously, because it's got to protect the assets in the protocol overall, is 29 cents. So that explains basically how that works. Now, the reason why I want to touch base on a lot of how this operates is because coming soon, especially with protocols that are, I call them version 2 of liquidity forks, where you'll be able to provide LP and derivative tokens as collateral. So I think having a basic understanding of how these protocols operate will serve beneficial to you when you dive into them. Now, the reason why I'm so excited about especially Vault 369 in particular, and I think LoanX is coming in the pipeline with PlusX. I haven't heard too much information there, but I have heard a lot of information about Vault 369, and pretty much that will open the gates for a lot of creative opportunities. So you'll be able to do the same thing you do with Ink Printer, but it'll expand your creativity a little bit and functionality. So you'd be able to, in one example, if I'm depositing a derivative token that goes up in value against the asset that it's provided for or that the value is derived from, and that increases over time, you're naturally going to de-risk yourself if you open out or put out collateral and take out a loan in the process. So one example, if I take VPulse, which is derivative of pool staking on Vouch, right? The share rate, which you could exchange your derivative token for Pulse Chain, increases over time. So it gains value, right, over time. So if you're depositing that on a collateral on something like this, you're naturally de-risking yourself in the process. And the beauty part about it is you're still earning your rewards from pool validating. You're still able to take stablecoin out to deposit in these stability pools, earn the reward token, and stake the reward, charging it for the protocol fees. And based on all the optionality and all the tools that are being built on Vault 369, it's going to be financially advantageous to do so. So I think that's all I wanted to touch with today. If you do have any other questions on maybe more technical stuff, visit inkprinter.com and Inkprinter and Telegram. I'm going to link that down below. Great group of guys in there. You could CC me or Fast Abdul. He's the owner of these projects going forward. He's very active in the community. And yeah, I'm excited for things to come. This is a basic understanding of exactly what this protocol does and why it's underutilized so much. So with that being said, I hope this provides some value to you, and I'll catch you in the next one.